Alright, so I did some work off camera just because it was more paper templates, gussets cutting it out. So I did the bottom piece here that boxed it in, and I also cut the vertical. Since this plate ended up at a slight angle, I did have to bend this a very small amount to clear this, and then this piece will fit right behind there. After I weld that, I'll put this in there. And then this end of the beam is done, minus plating, boxing these portions in, and then I need to do some more welding, fitting on this beam end, and then once both these beams are done, I can start making the mounts to put these under the frame, and then the axles, cut and extend stock axles for now to make sure everything clears and no binding of the U-joints, and then I will build the radius arms, and I'll tie in the radius arms up to these plates as best as I can and still clear the axles, and then fit the coilover and the bypass shock. Bypass shock will probably be out here more at a little bit of an angle. So once I get these beams a little farther along, I'll put them under the truck. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel, and I will be posting more videos of this whole build along the way. And again, in the description, I will put all the shocks, links to the Milwaukee tools I use, and description of what I'm going to be doing on this truck, so then you could stay tuned and actually follow along on the entire build. It will be a long process, probably the next 9 months to a year long project. So I'm doing the LS swap, wiring, building a dash, all of that thing. So if you are interested in any of those kind of components, just hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and follow along, and you can figure out all the steps that will fit to your project, and you can watch me do this custom one-off front end that I have not seen in person, but I'm willing to give it a try to see how it works. Alright, so we got the beams to the position where I need to get them off of my fixture here. Once they're off the fixture, I'll be able to fit all the last little pieces, box this piece in, and all that stuff. So let's get this thing lifted up off the table so we can actually take the beams off of the fixture, and we're going to use our engine hoist with Harbor Freight winch to get this thing lifted up so we can get it off the table. Alright, so we just got these heavy beams off of the fixture. Now we're gonna pull the knuckles off so you can actually maneuver the beams easier, and then we'll be able to finish fitting, do the gussets, box this piece in, a couple other little items that we want to do once we have the knuckles off, because all the weight right now is these heavy knuckles. So we'll get that off, and then I'll start on these beams again. Alright, so I just got those heavy knuckles off. We're going to keep this steering stop that we have tacked on here on until we mock up the steering. And then, as you can see, there's a big gap here because of this angle. If you kept it going, it was going to have to run all the way out to here. So we'll just heat this up with the torch a little bit, bend this in tighter, heat this up, bend it out, and then we'll do a gusset from this truss to the beam to box it in. Then down here, if you do go in any rocks, this is a part of the pumpkin that will be hit. So we'll do the double overlay plate, and then I'll also plate down here and plate these holes and the bottom of the beam just to make it a little stronger, and plate over here as well just to add some strength to this piece. All right, so the bottom of the beam here has this edge. Drew this gusset, cut it out, put a little bend because this didn't go quite as far as I needed it to, but I'm not redoing everything, so there we go. And then I can tack this in a few spots, grind this edge flush, and then I'll cover this seam with the overlay plate to prevent this from getting damaged from any rocks or anything. Alright, now I'm going to do this bottom bash plate here to cover these holes and fit it all. So then when I do the bottom, I'll just go put one nice weld right on that corner so it's going to be extra strong. Alright, so didn't really show too much of this because there's a bunch of little pieces I was gusseting and fitting and everything. You can see I have that bash plate in, the bottom bash plate piece in, as well as the overlay plate. Filled this in so then when it's all welded you won't even notice that this piece was actually a slight bit lower than this, but once it's all welded and these little spots ground smooth, it'll look like one solid piece and you'll never notice and it'll look like new. Then I got the overlay plate here, you can see perfect radius so I can get a good weld in here and in here. Then the overlay covers that seam, welded it, ground it smooth, so that's nice and strong. Did this end and this end the same distance from these bolt mounting holes. Keep everything even and symmetrical. Now I just got to do that to the other side and get these things on the truck. All right, here's the diff side beam. Got it, the overlay plates put on it, tacked in, bash plate on the bottom here, the very bottom and the front edge. Also boxed in that little bit there. Everything looks good on that. Now here's the passenger beam. Got it boxed in, well started. Got an overlay plate with some holes. I will be putting a gusset on the back side here that goes through these holes so I can weld to act like an I-beam. So it'll actually be double thick here in the center to really add strength to this beam. Then I got the both pieces there and that piece welded, so it's all ready to go. So next time we will be doing the box in rear piece and getting that tacked into place, and then these ones will be ready to put on the truck before we weld everything in case we need to change anything.